What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chino back again, once again, for the Adapt and Conquer show with your host Chino, and I'm here with my brother Emilio Osorio. And
What's going on?
yeah, so today, what are we talking about? We're talking about how to thrive through a crisis, mindset, continuity, and development. Emilio's the man as far as, basically he's a high performance leadership coach. He's the CEO, founder of Level Leader, and he's going to break down a lot of stuff today. We've got a lot of great value and information for you to take home with you. All right, guys, so the mic is yours, the stage is yours, my brother.
All right, thanks, man. All right, what's going on, everybody? As Chino said, I'm Emilio Soria, CEO of Level Leader. So I thought we'd do things a little bit differently than some of the other episodes. So I prepped a little PowerPoint here, and hopefully we can, give you guys some good value during this time. There's a lot of uncertainty in the air, a lot of panic, a lot of fears, a lot of people losing their jobs. So we want to make sure that we're providing value that people can use in their lives and businesses, and that's what I'm here to deliver to you today. So before we get started, let me just introduce myself again officially and kind of qualify why I'm here to talk to you today. Who am I, and why should you listen to what I have to say about anything on this topic? Again, my name is Emilio Osorio, and for over 12 years, I've been helping leaders and professionals just like you go from scattered and overwhelmed to stable and profitable in the shortest amount of time possible. So my experience and my background is in talent, learning, and organizational development. So I've worked with small, medium, and large-sized businesses. The largest business I've worked with was a $20-30 billion organization. So this uniquely positions me to help you thrive in difficult times, because that's what a lot of my work involves. So how do you do that proactively? Now, Quantum Level Leader is an organization, again, same thing as my background, learning, talent, and organizational development, and we're committed to helping you go from scattered and overwhelmed to stable and profitable through coaching, training, and the various consulting services that we offer. So today's topic, again, is thriving through crisis. So I want to start this off by talking about the 3 most common mistakes most leaders make in times of crisis. So the first thing that I see is the panic mode, right? They go into panic mode instead of crisis mode. And the difference is panic mode is reactive. You see something happening and you just immediately got to jump on it, and you're continuously putting out fires. If you've ever worked for anybody, or you found yourself in this position, you get overwhelmed very, very quickly. And the second symptom happens here, which your values, vision, and mission just go out the window, because it just becomes about the thing in front of you. And then what also happens is low agility, or there's resistance to adjusting. So this is the expansion versus contraction ratio you hear a lot.
We see it going on right now, Emilio. We're all across the board. These symptoms are happening with not only our clients, but just people in general, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's happening like all over the market. So before I get into explaining what the ratio is, where's somewhere that you've seen it in your industry?
I've seen it with my clients. I've seen it with friends of friends. Like you said, it's pretty much a snowball effect. As far as I think it's a human trait. When something happens and we don't have the control over it, and then you just have that in this sense, there's a lot of contracting going on.
I agree 100%. And this is why, people like you and I and other leaders and professionals out there need to step out and have our voices heard for that reason. And as I was saying before, with expansion and contraction ratio, I go to the Bruce Lee philosophy, like be like water, but there's a principle behind that, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So his philosophy around martial arts, part of it was when your opponent contracts, you expand. And when your opponent expands, you contract. Well, the same thing goes in the marketplace, right? So right now, people are in a state of contraction, right? They're scared. If we think about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which basically ranks people's needs based on a level of importance. We're on the first two levels right now, which is physiological needs and safety. And until you can pass that, people are not even thinking about education, love, or self-actualization or anything like that. So it's important that we understand as leaders, we need to step out and expand into this need. So when your clients, when your team and your organization are retracting, that's when you need to expand as a leader and meet them. For every step that they take back, you take a step towards them. And it's important that, we keep our eye on this, because if we panic, then we contract just like them, and then nobody wins in that equation. The next piece here is looking at, how can we reframe this for people out there? How can we, lead through this crisis? I mean, crisis happens. I mean, now it's COVID-19, right? But there have been other crises in the past. And this isn't the first time an epidemic has hit this country. And there are actually organizations that are old enough to remember the Spanish flu in this country. So before I get into it, what's your thought on it? How do you reframe some of this for your clients?
As far as let me see, which part? Because we have three of them here.
So either one. I mean, just thinking about you when you're dealing with your clients and kind of talking them off the ledge, in a sense, right? So if they're panicked and whatnot, how do you reframe the situation for them so that it doesn't look as bleak, or that there's some hope or light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, the first thing that I first, obviously, we spoke about yesterday is empathy. The second one will be, looking at it in an angle of factual and not emotional. Right now, the scales are tipping in the emotional factor. Everyone's on the ledge. Everyone's like their world is caving in. So I have to be able to kind of be in the middle of that and teeter-totter and kind of coax them to think in a manner where they have to shift their mindset, like we're speaking now. We could be emotional all day long. That's obviously not going to change the outcome. And once again, everyone copes differently. And yourself and I have spoken about flight or fight, coping mechanisms, things of that nature. But in a world like this that we're living, it's like you wake up and you're bombarded by the negativity, and it's like how much can we take, until there's a breaking point. So I usually let's think not in a emotional state, but let's think more logically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree. That's a good tactic. Just bring it back to logic, and it's always a good, a good stronghold to hold on to, right? Because this way we can go back to the truth. And I'm glad you mentioned about fight or flight. So there's a little part of your brain in your or in the lower region of your brain called the amygdala, and this basically controls what's called the limbic system in your body, which controls your fight or flight. So whenever there's perceived stress, your brain is going to send signals to your body to rush all the blood to your arms and legs, and it leaves your torso. So because it's getting ready to either fight or run away, So then that means that the upper part of your brain that controls executive function, even your heart, your gut, all of your visceral organs are not getting enough nutrients to be able to perform efficiently. So when we get into this panic mode and our amygdala gets hijacked, we don't make good decisions, and it's important that we use reframing, especially in this time, to show that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And let's be honest, folks. I mean, COVID-19 is serious, but it's still a first world problem. There are countries right now that are dealing with real plagues. I mean, you cannot breathe the air because you will get cancer from the air. Right. So we need to count our blessings, the way I reframe this, three most common ways I try and reframe this. First is that it's a reality check. It's not the end of days, and that's part of the panic. And don't get me wrong, this is serious. Like personally, I know at least 5 people who are hospitalized now and 3 people who have died from it. So I'm not trying to minimize the risk of this disease, but what I'm saying is that it is a reality check. The fear is, what if we die? My reframe is, okay, well, what if we live? What if we survive? Then what? The second is looking at it as an opportunity to battle test your values, your vision, and mission through service, not every man for himself, which is what happens when people panic, right? This is an opportunity for us to test, like the vision for the future, the values that we hold on to right now during time of crisis. Are they the real values we're going to stick to? You know, I saw a video, they post a bunch of stuff on Facebook. I saw this video, people were running through a store for toilet paper and a mother shoves her child out of the way and the child got injured. You know what I mean? I don't know what this woman's values are, but just, looking at it from a personal perspective, if you say you value family and then you do something like that, your values didn't really hold water. So, and I know it's an extreme example, but if you look at your business, and you have values, core values, those are important because this is what your team is going to hold on to. These are the inalienable standards that you're going to hold yourself to when you're operating in good times and bad. Like Brad Lee has the Dirty Dozen, which I think are great. And they're all numbered ones, they're all priority, but just, this is a chance to battle test that. Second is your vision. Your vision is future focused. You want to see if what you saw the future as before this crisis is still something viable. And you can ask yourself some questions, and we'll get into that in the next slide. And then test your mission. Your mission is how you're going to get to that vision. What are the daily activities you're going to do to get there? And do it through service. And I'm going to go one back, sorry. And the last one here, if this will let me go back. There we go. And the last one here, it's time to grow into the future, not hunker down in the present. Focusing on the future keeps you on track. If you've ever noticed when you've gotten overwhelmed, and you find yourself taking on tasks that really you shouldn't be taking on, and this is especially going out to those of you who are people pleasers out there, when you're focused on the now too much and just what's at hand and not keeping your eye on the prize, you're going to go off track a lot easier. So it's time right now, when everyone is contracting, to move forward proactively in crisis mode into the future, not in panic mode. And the last thing here, the biggest reframe for me is asking this question: why are you here? If we move out of the business tactics and strategies right now, it's asking this question: why are you here? And honestly, there are only three things every human being is on this planet to do: to have vibrancy, excitement in their life, to have joy in their life, and most important of all, to have meaning. Meaning that you mattered when you were here on this earth, that you made a difference, you impacted someone, you served. When we look back on our deathbed, we're not going to say, oh, that funnel made it all worth it, or closing that deal just made this whole life worth it. Nobody's going to say that. We're all going to wonder, did our life have meaning?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally
and that for me is the biggest reframe, Absolutely.
Yeah, sometimes you got to step back and really, really, reflect. I think a lot of people, once again, you get this paralysis, effect, and then we forget who we are. When we just take a moment and think about, this is a human problem. Once, this together, looking into the future, especially being with teams and having teams and associates and colleagues, and adhering to that cohesive vision is what will keep everybody in mind. It's like kind of like panicking and taking down the sails. How will you get to your destination if you're taking down the sails on your boat? I totally agree with that. That's very insightful, and not only that, it's how would I say, it's a self-realization kind of thing, like it's very enlightening to be
Absolutely.
able to do that. That's interesting.
And I agree. And I mean, this is the way we should be working with our clients, our prospects, because they ask themselves the same question. You know, I mean, the topic is on leadership, but you know, when you're closing that sale, I mean, you're the leader. And if you're there to serve, you know, then you have to understand this is a people-to-people business, no matter what business you're in.
Right.
And they want to feel like they matter. And you want to feel like you matter. So it is a human problem. So all this stuff we're talking about, we're going to touch on continuity next. I mean, you know, it's continuity of the team. Your customers are the most important part of the team. You know, and you as a leader, if you're the CEO of your organization, you're actually last on the rung. You have to take care of everybody in your supply chain. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's something to ask yourself, right? So let's move forward. And the next question I wanted to look at here is, what are some important things that we can consider for continuity? Now, continuity is how are we going to continue to do business now that the situation has changed? You know, if we talk about risk analysis or risk management or anything like that, then basically there are about 10 things that you look out for and that you can manage around with risk. But continuity is how are you going to continue to serve regardless of what comes. And these 5 P's will help you remember. Proper planning prevents poor performance. So those are the 5 P's. Proper planning prevents poor performance. And I can tell you the most successful people in this world are high performing, meaning it doesn't matter come hell or high water, they're going to perform at their best. Because they perform out of service. It's not ego driven, it's service driven, servant leadership. So some things to think about for continuity. I'm big on values, vision, and mission. You have to start there. This is the core of your organization. And it doesn't matter if you're a sole proprietor or you have 1 or 2 employees, 5 employees, 500 employees, it doesn't matter. These are the things that are going to get you out of bed in the morning. You know, have you ever gotten out of bed and just like, oh man, I got to go do this again, you know, and you just kind of start to hate your life a little bit. You know, knowing where you're going, having a vision, knowing what your values are, what your mission is in this world. When you put your feet down on that floor, you wake up different. Yeah. You move different. You know, for some people, it's around family. Some it's about service. Some is about impact. But you want to identify first with yourself, because you have to lead yourself first. What are your values, vision, and mission? Then think of your family. What are your family's value, vision, and mission? Your organization, your community, and so on and so forth. And you share these as a collective. The second is not only to have a vision statement, but have a vision playbook. And this is something that I work with my clients on. In the first session, this is the first thing we do, is create a vision playbook. Out of that playbook, they're going to get their values, their vision, their mission, and not only that, they're going to be able to express it clearly to their teams. You know, what is the impact we're making as an organization? What is our sales and marketing going to look like? What are our products going to look like? What is our team going to look like in 3 to 5 years? So we're answering the question, what is going to be true for my business in 3 to 5 years? In this instance, for you, if you're going to create one for yourself, you want to make sure that you want to plan for what's going to be true for your business after this COVID-19 mess is over. What's going to be true? It should be clear, inspiring, profitable, and attractive. People need to align themselves with it, because ultimately at the end of the day, when we're talking corporate culture, we're talking about meaning. People are searching for truth. People are not, like, people don't buy fluff. Like, people are smarter than, you know, a lot of these companies give them credit for.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it has to speak to them, not what everybody wants, but they have to be able to see themselves in it. And you have to find a touch point rhythm. So throughout the year, there are at least 7 to 15 times a year you can touch this vision playbook, because it shouldn't just be something you write and then put it on the shelf to collect dust. You have to dust it off a few
Yeah,
times a year.
because
So some,
I see life as, as a game, and you're on the sidelines, you're coaching, you have to refer to that playbook. Not everybody has it figured out, and you got it. It's not. It's like, what? Okay, what do we run now? What's the play now? And this is one of those moments.
exactly.
And that's really important. Yeah, absolutely. Because there's no rule book. There's nothing, and there's not a COVID-19 action plan that you can buy right now. This is
Exactly.
it, man. This is it. What you guys are watching right now, it will prepare you for those high performing, problem solving situations. Whether they throw
Absolutely.
COVID at you, whether there's a blackout, whether there's an EMP blast, whether there's a food shortage, you gotta have a playbook. I mean, that's crazy. I love that. That's very important, man. I mean, I would have never thought of that. My playbook is up here,
Yeah.
but I think when you do write it down, there should be certain excerpts in your playbook that you can revert to. I think a lot of rich people, high performing people, not even saying rich people, but I noticed that a lot of them have a diary. They carry a diary, or they categorize, not categorize, but they write certain things like that impacted them during their life, and they can revert to that. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So a couple things I want to touch on that you said I thought were real poignant, man. Like when you said about having a playbook and working it with the team. A lot of business owners or business leaders make the mistake that they write this thing in a silo. But gotta understand, your organization is a community. It is a symbiotic relationship between a multitude of organisms that are seeking meaning in life.
Right. Should be done
So
together.
exactly. So this vision has to be crafted, this playbook has to be crafted together. Same thing with your families. I mentioned before about establishing values, vision, mission for your family. You write that as a family. This is what you all are agreeing to. So when, like, for example, for my daughter, we have values that we share and that we've written down. We
Right.
have a vision that we've written down so she has agreements with me. So she knows the things that I'm going to call her out on.
Right.
So it's never a surprise. You know what I mean? But these are the things, you said it yourself, these are what high performers do. And what you mentioned, so this book here, Principles, Ray Dalio's book, that's exactly what he did. He wrote his life story in half of the book, right? So that's the first half. And then the second half, I want you to see, is all his business and life principles, how he solved problems, how he made his millions.
That's what it
See, and
is.
he catalogs them.
Wow. Look at that.
So this is like the Bible for high performers, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what you're saying. And all high performing, successful people do this in one way, shape, or form. Remember, proper planning prevents poor performance.
Right.
That's what it's
And I
about.
think we're kind of doing it unconsciously. I think these Zooms and these Zooms that are happening now, I think these are virtual playbooks that are happening. You know, they're happening as they're happening, and people are not even realizing it. I think it's all built in us. Everything is built in
Agreed.
us. But once again, you have this cognitive dissonance of, indoctrination that teaches us otherwise, right? Principles like that book that just didn't come to him. That's something that he lived through it, solved the problems, and how do you say, cataloged it, recorded it. And I think that's super important because the things that you're bringing to the table now, we always talk a lot, and once again we're on the next level. We have a lot of moments, my God, I didn't even think about that. And then I'll take that, write it down, and then once again, there's my playbook. I didn't even realize it. I mean, in my notes alone, I can't even explain to you how many times I have a title with your name and a bunch of notes. I
Yeah, same
revert
here.
to it all the time. But I think we could learn a lot off each other now that things are more virtual. We're able to connect the dots with the right people, and definitely utilize those 4 P's. If you're watching this, write it down. For those who are interested in this PDF, if we get through it, just I want you guys to type PDF. All right, Emilio's gonna put this together. He's already has a PDF for you guys, and then he'll send it to you guys. I want you guys to type that out. We also will be taking Q&A towards the end.
All right, cool. So something you mentioned about like Ray Dalio, right, and him having solved the problem. So I don't want people out there to get the impression that you need to solve a problem before you start writing down your principles for solving them. Some of the best rule books for war were written in the middle of battle, and you learned as you went. But there are different tools you can use, like, for example, a SWOT analysis is a good thing to use before or during a crisis. So you're looking at your internal strengths and weaknesses, either as a person or as an organization, and then your external opportunities and threats. And you can begin to catalog those. And like you said, through these different podcasts and people going live and all this, we're beginning to catalog it on a mass scale. So once this is over, we can go back and do a lessons learned. Right. There are many lessons learned exercises out there, but you could do like a start, stop, and continue type of exercise. What worked, what didn't work, what are some opportunities, things like that. So the whole process is important, but you don't have to wait until the crisis is over. You can start now.
Yeah.
And and on that, the next thing after you have your vision playbook is to create a battle plan. Once you know where you're going to go, then all you got to do is close the gap from where you are to get there. It doesn't matter what is in front of you, what crisis, because then the battle plan is what is in your sphere of control and influence, and what is not in relation to that roadmap to where you're going. And now you have the playbook, so you can catalog, identify specifically what's in your control, what's not in your control, what can you influence. Next thing is identify what are the risks. Right? And then develop strategies to deal with those risks as they come up.
Risk management.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of tools for risk management. Again, there's about 10, there are about 10 or so risk factors that you can look at. There's a lot of information out there, so you can look that up. Then you want to ask yourself a series of questions once you have your battle plan. And this is more as the general or as the leader, right? You want to ask yourself, how will you show up? How are you going to show up? Are you going to be poised? Are you going to be optimistic? Are you going to be realistic, depending on the culture of the people you're talking to? Then ask yourself, who is it that needs your A game? So as you show up, you look for those people who need your A game, and what do they need specifically from you? Some people don't need as much of attention as other people. Some people you have to go and you have to ask them questions, and they need a little more coaching or something, and some don't. So you need to understand who those people are and what they need from you. And then again, as I mentioned before, just do an analysis once it's done. What worked, what didn't work, start, stop, continue, something like that. The next thing is you want to ask yourself and then meet with your team and answer these questions. What is true for my business? What are my true North KPIs? And this is something I run into a lot with my clients. I know, because they'll say, oh, I need more customers, or I need to hire more staff in this area because, we can't meet quota. And it's like, well, but why do you think you need more staff or more customers? It could be an offer issue. It could be a system issue. It could be, process issue.
Something on the front end.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to know what those true North key performance indicators are. Then once you have that, you figure out as a team, how do you need to pivot?
Very
right?
Yeah.
So these are some things to think about for continuity. This is for any crises. All right, let's move on to the next one, as I know we're running a little, about a half hour in. All right, so now what can we focus on to thrive during a crisis to emerge stronger? Because millionaires are made in crises. powerhouses are created in crises. You know, a lot of the biggest, most successful organizations emerged just because they survived.
Yeah.
You know, there's a book recommendation I have for you all. It's called The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. And this was an eye-opener for me because I didn't even think this way, but most of us hear this saying and we believe it and we live it, that we have to play to win. Play to win, play to win. If you're going to play the game, play to win. And while I do agree with that in philosophy, no matter who wins or loses, the game is over. And the thing is, the most successful people are not the ones who win the game. They're the ones who stay in the game the longest.
Yep.
Because, folks, this is not a win or lose sport. There is no finish line. The finish line is when you throw in the towel. So it's whoever stays the longest, grows the longest, and gains the most.
Yeah, I think we spoke about this. We had a deep conversation about this, myself and you, right? I think we kind of like curtailed it and labeled it like pressing the reset button all the time, you know, rebooting and starting all over. Because you'll have your, you know, Q1, Q2, end of the week, this, that, and then it starts all over again. It starts all over again. It's not, you'll never outdo yourself because there's another game next week, you know?
That's it.
Or maybe you just lost in really nice fashion. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you know, it's so relative, you know what I mean? Just to say that, you know, exactly what you were saying. It's all about winning. Nah, definitely not.
It's not. Listen, everything happens in cycles, bro. I mean, you know this.
Yeah.
Listen, like, this is a trap that all high performers fall into at some point in their life, myself included. You know, when you're used to winning, you're used to achieving, it's like a drug. It's like your heroin.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You just want that next shot of achievement. Let me get that next degree. Let me get that next big client. Let me get that, you know what I'm saying? Let me get that next credential. But this is the truth of it. You're only going to feel good for 10 seconds.
That's it.
You need to think about the 11th second. What are you going to do that 11th second? Because it's over. So, because immediately, once those 10 seconds are over, you're like, okay, where's the next one coming from now?
Yeah.
So if you extend it, play the long game, you're gonna blow people out of the water because it's like a flash in the fire, right? They're come here by day, they're bright and shiny, and then they're gone. Like
I can say that about many marketers. I've been playing a long game. I've been through it all, you know. But I do see that in marketers. You know, 25 years in this game. Shit, I could tell you how many. You know, that you'll see them blow the hell up and then just fall from grace. You know what I mean? And that's rough to be up top, and then that's the ego. The ego will crush anybody. Will crush anybody. Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So let's get back to it. So what can we focus on to thrive during a crisis and emerge stronger? Well, first, you want to identify or review your targets and write them down. If you've never written down your targets, and I don't mean goals now, it's specifically your vision playbook and your plan of execution. But those are your targets. Like, you know, I mean, I fall victim to this too. You know, I'll set a target like, okay, I want to make 20 sales, you know, this quarter. Let's just say, just throwing a number out there, which is fine. You can do that, you know, but if you have a vision playbook, you'll know exactly how many sales you need to get where you want to go. I mean, if you like that approach of shotgunning, I mean, listen, I personally know people who've made a lot of success for themselves that way. But again, it's like when crisis hits, they didn't plan, so they suffer poor performance. You know what I mean? So identify and review your targets, write them down, have your vision playbook and a plan of execution. Define your performance metrics, meaning what does success look like? Define what that is, and you do that in 2 stages. The first stage is understanding what is currently sabotaging you as a leader and your team as people. And then what are the countermeasures to that? So for example, our beliefs. Your beliefs, my beliefs, anybody that works with us, our teams, our beliefs are the number one thing that is going to sabotage performance. I promise you there are people out there who have 0 prospects in their pipeline. And instead of going into their network and getting on the phone, they're getting on TikTok. And I have nothing against TikTok before I say anything. You know
Oh
what I'm
boy, Valentina's she's
No,
cringing.
listen.
She's cringing right now.
Now listen, I got love for her. You know what I'm saying? We go way back to, and it's not about being on TikTok. It's just when your beliefs start messing with you, you're gonna do anything and everything aside from the thing that you need
Yeah,
to do, aside from the main thing.
it's like an avoidance. It's an
That's
avoidance.
right. So listen, if it's part of your vision playbook to get on TikTok, to get on Instagram, to get on Facebook, to get on YouTube,
Right.
then you do it according to your playbook, but you don't do it as an excuse to not fill your pipeline.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
And it could snowball because then people start creating a habit that they don't need when maybe there's someone's watching and they're your client and wondering why they can TikTok all day and not give them a call.
Exactly. Listen,
Right.
everyone's clients are home right now, bro. That's what I'm saying.
Shots not fired, by the way.
Shots fired, bro.
Oh man.
No, but listen, but it's true. Listen,
it has
everybody's
happened
at
to
home
me.
right
It
now.
has happened to me, right? It has
Yeah.
happened to me. I posted up where I'm like doing some, extracurricular stuff, doing some relaxing, too much this, too much that, and the big clients were watching, and they're like, "Well, this guy's got too much time on his hands and whatnot," and you get that totally different angle, and then I get what you're saying, and guess what happened? That sabotaged me.
That's right.
And shout out to someone that knows that warned me about that. It wasn't you. It was one of my colleagues. But yes, that can sabotage you 1,000,000%.
Yeah, people often don't think about the story we're telling people when we're not focused. People are still watching us even though we're not watching them, and that's in any environment. And that's just culture 101.
Yeah,
You
we're
know,
very
you're-
public. It's very public.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So especially if you're gonna do that, and I mean, listen, I got to get on social media more for business sake. You know what I'm saying?
Because I did a little trolling. If you saw the last Trump post, it was a troll.
Yeah.
But man, people just wait till I put up some, But once again, it can sabotage me. But towards the end, I was like, just trolling, by the way.
That's it, bro. That's it. You gotta love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So I don't want to get too off topic because I want to
Yeah,
respect
go
people's time.
Sure.
But yeah, so
Countermeasures.
yeah, absolutely. So you want to find out what those sabotaging forces are. Your beliefs are number one. Habits or routines are others. Their personality traits. So there's a tool that I created around this on how to identify all your sabotaging forces and then finding your countermeasures. To do just that. Third thing that you can do is assess your assets and liabilities. What do I mean? Not just in money, but yourself, your money, your relationships, your decision making, etc. You have assets everywhere. Like my biggest asset is my network, people I actually pick up the phone and talk to, or direct message, or send an email. Like people I have real relationships with are my biggest asset. You know what I mean? But that's just for me. I mean, for somebody else, it may be different. But these are things that we need to look at, and there are 4 life areas really that we need to look at. So as you mentioned, that like you're doing things that are unproductive. I mean, we're not machines. You know what I'm saying? But there are 4 main life areas we need to take care of and make sure are in our playbook. And I should have mentioned this before, right? So you want to make sure your vocation is there, your professional and educational aspirations are in there, right? You want to make sure your avocational things are in there. So these are the things you do for leisure, right? For fun, for relaxation. You want to make sure your relationships are in there, and you have a plan of action for your relationships. Like how many people
Balance.
like how many people just go, I love you, to the people they care about at a specific time of day every day.
Right. You gotta have balance.
I'm saying, and this all needs to be part of the plan. And then the last one, then you have your physical health, right? And then I'll add one more, because your physical health, and you also need your spiritual health. Spiritual health meaning your mental and emotional well-being, right? You need to have all these 5 things in your playbook, and you need to think about that when you're writing your playbook for your business and your team, because they will also need those areas covered in there. So that's why we target those specific topics in the playbook. Then number 4, you need to implement flow versus force. This is all about energy mechanics, you know. And if anybody out there is into any of this esoteric wisdom and universal law and anything like that, you know, and the law of attraction, then you've heard of flow and flow state. So it's like we spend a lot of time trying to force things and make things happen, and then we get pissed off when our team doesn't do what we say. And it's because you're not using flow. You're too busy trying to create and make things happen instead of tapping into what's going on. If you tap into what's going on, you will find a space for you. And that's flow, you know, and that's all part of like what we call energy acceleration. I'll show you the model we use later. Then the last thing, and I'm biased to this one, man, hire a coach. Listen, I work with coaches. The most successful people I know have coaches. Hire a coach. And listen, I just have a bias towards leadership coaching because leadership skills are life skills. You know what I mean? So definitely hire a coach, and especially during this time, so someone can help you to get there. I mean, everything I gave you today will already get you moving in the right direction, but a coach will help you get there much faster. You know, and that's the name of the game. Let's see, and I think that's it. So here, I just want to show you guys real quick. This is the model that I use in my organization. It's the quantum level leader model. So we take our clients through 4 phases of service in our coaching and our training and our consulting is a little different. It depends on specific problems. But for phase 1, we focus on what's called quantum targeting. To hit your targets faster with higher accuracy. So there's a 3-step state bridging process that we use that helps you to plan, create your vision playbook, and plan in a way that's fluid, you know, and a way that it's a living document that you can edit as things come up. In the second phase, we focus on what's called performance mechanics. This right here, it's only 2 things that you learn here, right? But these 2 things, like, they unlock limitless potential. Like, if you're looking for more productivity, less stress, this is what you need, is performance mechanics. So understanding what are those key metrics and what is it that you need to do to apply them. The third phase is learning how to use all those undiscovered assets. You know, people know about financial assets and wealth assets, but there are so many untapped assets. So it's uncovering the secret of relationship, what I call relationship currency, and the science I developed behind it is called affinity covalence. So if we, so just a quick description on that, if we think back to high school chemistry, covalent bonds is when 2 molecules share similar electrons. So similarly, we as individuals, we share at least 2 common traits with most people around us, or 2 commonalities. And just like this, the 6 degrees of separation, like, you're only 6 people away from meeting anybody you want. And that's absolutely true, but it's learning how to use that and relationships as currency to develop influence. And influence is what you need to get the job done. The higher you go, the more influence you need, because you're going to have less of a direct touch. Then the last phase, here's where we focus on energy acceleration, like I was talking about. How to go from good to just crushing it, to a weapon in business, a weapon in the corporate world, wherever you are. So this will accelerate your results through the principles of energy flow and acceleration. So this is what we use. If you are going to hire a coach out there, again, it doesn't have to be me, but make sure they have something like this that's going to get you there. That's a repeatable rinse and repeat process. All right, because you don't want a dependency on a coach. And that's, I tell all my clients, is I don't want you like being dependent on me to make your decision. I teach you how to do this so that you can rinse and repeat in your life and your company and pretty much manufacture success. All right, so that's it. If any of you guys have any questions after this, you can always visit the website, quantumlevelleader.com. You can schedule a session with me. For first session is free. And I get it that these are hard times, so we can work together and see what will fit your needs. You can email me directly at support@quantumlevelleader.com. You find me on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn under Quantum Level Leader. All right, that's pretty much it, man.
Awesome, man. That was some great information. I mean, it's always intriguing speaking with you, Emilio, because you're super intelligent, and the cool thing about, this is a lot of the stuff you did so much. I know you did so much research on this for so many years, and let them know too. You pretty much do this now full time. You were able to now. So just to step back and say, listen, most people say, okay, I'm gonna hire a marketer, but then again, they're not even successful. In your case, you're a coach, but you're not. You have your own business, so you're taking your own teachings and you have propped yourself up to have a sustainable business. You're using your own teachings to not only be successful, but also on a quantum level, take yourself to the next level. So that right there alone, bar none, is what will attract me as far as someone, as a leader that is going to need some type of coaching, because that's admirable. That's a case study. You're a living case study. And I mean, look at all the books behind you, brother. Like, you know,
Yeah, bro.
I
Like
mean,
they say, this is just a fraction, bro. Like I'm hiding.
you know, and so, but let them know once again how they can get in touch with you, and then we'll close this out, brother.
Sure thing. So I'll just put the slide up real quick so if anybody wants to just copy it down. So again, the website, quantumlevelleader.com, support at quantumlevelleader.com, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn under Quantum Level Leader. Again, if you want this PDF, just type PDF in the chat. We'll get it over to you. On the website, you can schedule a call with me, again, completely free, and we'll see how we can help you out and get you going during this time and help you to thrive and conquer.
Awesome. Once again, thank you for everyone checking in. There is no Q&A, so I think you've explained everything to the max. A couple of PDFs requests here. Shout out to Eric Gomez. Shout out to Roger Guzman, Valentina checked in, Tara. Always checking out the show and supporting. Once again, I just want to make sure, just give a shout out to everybody out there. Make sure everybody's safe. We definitely just throwing out good vibes to everyone. And once again, this week, tomorrow we have the Credit Dude. Friday we have Anthony Forte. Saturday we're gonna have Dustin Constantino. Haven't done the flyer for that yet, but definitely want to at least give that announcement. He's gonna go through a whole slew of stuff as far as marketing. And Sunday we're gonna have Stephen Pagan on the show as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, this is the Adapt and Conquer show, and I'll see you guys later.